Week after week, eventually turning into months, Detective Sergeant Jack Warr has been recalled to the stand and subjected to the defense's onslaught. They queried everything, questioning him until he was exhausted, but their main focus was the fact that the bodies of the 4 murder victims had not been found, despite the wealth of forensic evidence linking them to the basement. Jack was forced to describe the discovery of the horrific scene time and time again. "You have stated that you pursued Rodney Middleton, even after he was arrested for a lesser crime, which he freely admitted to. He had handed over the weapon he used in the assault on the owner of a shop he frequented, is that correct?" "Yes," Jack replied. "So, even though he pleaded guilty to the assault charge and handed over the weapon, you still requested a search warrant for his premises. On what basis?" "My evidence has been submitted. It's in front of you. And the judge agreed that I had reasonable grounds. My intuition told me." "So on the basis of your intuition," the defense interrupted in a disparaging tone, "you obtained a search warrant. But it would have been days later when the search was carried out. So all this time his basement apartment would have been vacant. His girlfriend was still living there and she gave us entry. The reality is, there could have been other people present or moving in and out of the basement property, couldn't there?" Jack was getting sick of being treated like an inexperienced rookie. "I can see where you're going with this, but what I discovered inside that basement couldn't have been recently deposited. 4 young girls were butchered and decapitated over a lengthy period of time, leaving extensive forensic evidence: blood, hair, clothes, skin, nails." At this point, the defense attempted to interrupt Jack, but Jack refused to be silenced. Gripping the wooden edge of the dock, his voice strained and hoarse, he didn't pause for breath. "He had cut them into pieces in the coal bunker. When luminol was used to detect if blood was present, the whole area, floor to ceiling, lit up. It was literally a bloodbath." Jack was eventually released from the witness box, walking past the glass partition surrounding the dock where Rodney Middleton was smiling and raising his handcuffed wrists as if applauding. The hideous gloating expression never left his face as the judge called for a short adjournment. 30 minutes later, with the court back in session, the bereaved families were finally allowed to read out their impact statements. Middleton laughed, jeered, and pulled clown faces, mocking their endless pain, until the judge was forced to intervene. "Your antics will not save you from hearing their words, Mr. Middleton. The families want you to understand how your actions have impacted them, whether you care or not." Jack found the time immediately after each court session just as emotionally draining. Other families constantly approached him outside the courthouse, weeping and pressing photographs of their dead daughters to his chest, begging him to find out if they were also victims of Rodney Middleton's heinous crimes. Jack's team had found further bloodstains, not linked to the 4 young girls they knew had died in that basement. There were definitely more victims, but so far the police had no idea who they were. When the guilty verdict was delivered and Rodney Middleton given a life sentence, for Jack it felt almost meaningless. Against legal advice, and despite being refused the first time of asking, Jack persisted in his request for a 10-minute face-to-face meeting with Middleton in his cell before he was taken to prison. Jack argued that this was his best chance to gain more information about the yet unidentified victims. He was given 5 minutes. Jack was taken down to the holding cells, accompanied by an officer who agreed to remain outside the closed but unlocked cell door. As Jack waited for Middleton to turn and face him, his right hand slipped into his pocket and felt for the tough leather shoelace. He knew he'd have to act fast. Middleton looked surprised to see him. Before he could speak, Jack said, "I know you can give us the identity of more victims, Rodney. Let me give some peace to their families." Middleton smiled. "You have no idea how much pleasure I get from being the only one who knows where they are and how they died. So you, Jack, can go fuck yourself." Jack didn't react. It was nothing more than he'd expected. Then he stepped quickly up to the bench where Middleton was sitting. In the blink of an eye, Jack had the leather shoelace round Middleton's neck, pulling it tighter with all his strength.